Buccaneers and Vikings are next. A sellout crowd is on hand at the Metrodome in Minneapolis, an NFC Central Division game between the Buccaneers and the Vikings. A big one for Minnesota, tied atop the division with Chicago, while the Bucs anchored the Central at 2 up and 9 down. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, alongside the future Hall of Famer Anthony Munoz. I'm Tom Brenneman. Anthony, for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a lot of distractions right now. Talk about the sale of the team, perhaps even leaving the Tampa area. But one real bright spot has been the play of rookie running back Eric Rett.
Well, Eric Rett, you look at his game last time against the Vikings. He only had 9 carries for 22 yards. He's coming off 2 back-to-back 100-yard games. He's comfortable with the offense, but he is facing the #1 defense against the rush in the Vikings, but they are struggling against the pass.
Yeah, ask Drew Bledsoe and Boomer Esiason about that back-to-back Minnesota losses. They'll try and get on track here today. Warren Moon believes, Anthony, he's having to throw the ball too much these days.
Well, he's thrown the ball 97 times in the last 2 games. That's a lot of passes for a 38-year-old quarterback. Not the arm that you're worried about. It's his body, the extra hits that he's taking. I believe the Vikings have to get back to their running game, and why not? They have the #4 rusher in the NFC in Terry Allen, who's averaging 4.4 a game.
And as far as Allen is concerned, he rushed for 113 yards against Tampa Bay, the first meeting between these two teams won by Minnesota. Well, when we come back, the starting lineups, the opening kickoff after this message from your local Fox station. On the Hubert Humphrey Metrodome, where on the outside there is plenty of snow. They're expecting it all afternoon. In fact, anywhere from 6 inches to a foot. But warm and cozy on the inside, where the Buccaneers and Vikings get together for the second time this year. Sam Weish, in this his 3rd year with the Bucs. Many wondering if he will return. He has a 5-year contract given away by the late Hugh Culverhouse. On the other side, Denny Green, attempting to become only the 6th person in NFL history to lead his team to the playoffs in each of his first 3 seasons. He's done a terrific job here in Minnesota.
Tom, you know, you have 2 coaches here that come from similar programs. You have Denny Green, of course, Dennis Green, who has been under the Walsh system. Of course, Sam Weish was with Bill Walsh back in the early 80s when they beat the Bengals in the Super Bowl as a quarterback coach. A lot of similarities in what they want to do offensively.
Curtis Buckley, number 28. Charles Wilson, 84, waiting back on the kickoff from Claude Reves. You may be wondering where Vernon Turner is. He was not activated for this one by Sam Weish. In the first meeting, he returned 8 kicks for 242 yards. He is not in there, however, here today. Sellout crowd on hand at the Dome, and here we go. Wilson at the 12. And he is hammered at the 27 by number 50, Bobby Abrams. That's where the Buccaneer offense will put it in play. Greg Erickson, this is his 3rd season out of Miami. You see the touchdown to interceptions ratio, very, very good. 10 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Up front, Paul Gruber has never been to a Pro Bowl. That's hard to believe. McCray in at left guard and Dill out on the right tackle. Apparently, we're going to have to do this all over again. Eric Rett, back-to-back 100-yard rushing games. McDowell, the fullback. Hawkins and Dawsey, the wide receivers. And again, a shoulder injury to Jackie Harris. He is out for the season. Ty J. Armstrong starts in his place. It's an offside penalty against Minnesota. So they'll back it up and they'll have to kick it again, meaning much better field position for the Buccaneers.
Well, after that big hit by Bobby Abrams, I'm sure he's looking forward to getting another chance and getting another big hit here on having to re-kick this one. Well, that was that audio was nice. You had that full impact of the hit, even though we're up quite a ways.
Makes you miss it, doesn't it?
Well, not really.
Not really. Well, I know there are a lot of guys as we've gone around the NFL this season. In fact, Craig Erickson last night asking you, would you think about coming back just for one more game?
Well, you know, it's funny. He did ask that, and then again this morning, I don't know if Sam was asking just to find out how my shoulder was doing or if he was truly asking to find out something else, but he did ask me how the shoulder was doing that I injured last year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in camp, and I said it's doing great, feeling even better when I wake up Monday morning. and it moves just fine.
All right, here we go from the 25. LeVay's good kick. Bobbled back at the 7 by Buckley, but he breaks it to the outside. Across the 30 to the 33, and the tackle made by Lamar McGriggs, number 37. So now we'll start at 1st and 10, and much better field position for Erickson and the Buccaneers.
A lot of times you see that too when the receiving guy fumbles it. I think what happens is the coverage team kind of lets up a little bit, saying, hey, the guy's having problems back there. We can kind of ease up, see what he's going to do, but then the guys pick it up and bang, they're gone. Instead, excellent field position.
1st and 10. Tampa Bay at its own 33. The handoff to Rhett, and he's out to the 37 on a nice pickup.
Tom, one of the things that I just noticed, and it was brought to our attention that the Buccaneers might come into this game with their elephant formation. That means bringing an extra lineman, Mike Sullivan, lining him up next to the right tackle, and that time they did, and they're going right back to it here. They have 3 offensive linemen on the right side, plus their tight end running an unbalanced line, and here they do it for the 2nd play in a row.
Erickson throws short. The intended receiver was Horace Copeland. It'll bring up 3rd down for the Buccaneers.
As we look at the Minnesota defense, it statistically is down in what they do best, sacking the quarterback. They depend on the middle guys, John Randall and Henry Thomas, with their quickness. The linebackers led by Jack Del Rio out of the University of Southern California. In the secondary, you have number 20 off to a super rookie start, Dwayne Washington.
4 wide out set for the Buccaneers. He'll operate out of the shotgun on this 3rd and 6. Pass in and out of the hands of number 80, Lawrence Dawsey. So 3 and out for the Bucs.
Well, even if they would have completed that pass, he would have probably been about 2 yards short because he didn't have a whole lot of room near that sideline once he got his hands on the football.
Dan Straczynski in the punt, and don't let that average fool you, because in terms of net average, he is 1st in the NFL. And a fair catch called for at the 26. And that's where Minnesota puts it in play. 1st and 10. They'll call it the 37. Warren Moon, the 11-year veteran out of Washington. 14 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. He's had to throw the ball 97 times the last 2 games. Stuzzi, the rookie, on the left tackle spot. McDaniel and Hinton, the veteran all-pros up front. And in the backfield, Terry Allen, the 4th leading rusher in the NFC. Carter, the leading receiver in the NFL. What a tandem, Carter and Reed, the 2 tight end set of Jordan and Cooper. 4 wideouts into the game for Minnesota. And Moon falls down, and Nickerson, coming on the blitz, officially takes him down.
Well, let's look at the defense. The Tampa Bay Buccaneer defense led by their number 1 pick of a year ago, Eric Curry, who they want to step his play up. In the linebacker position, you have number 56, one of the best in the business, Hardy Nickerson. And in the secondary, a little banged up. Martin Mayhew kind of nursing a little bit of a hamstring. Thomas Everett playing banged up.
Okay, all right.
2nd down, handoff to Terry Allen, and he's across the 35. It'll bring up 3rd and long for the Vikings. Tackle made by Hardy Nickerson. We'll call his name a great deal today.
Well, you have a guy in Hardy Nickerson that early in the season he hurt his ankle. I was in the locker room talking to Hardy. I said, Hardy, how you feeling? He said, well, you know, I'm feeling banged up, and one of the areas is his ankle, and he said he's probably 92-93% back with that ankle injury. Be interesting to see how he handles the soreness of his body today on this AstroTurf.
Yeah, he had to miss a couple of games earlier this season with that ankle injury. 3rd and 11. Boone intercepted by Tony Covington. And he's inside the 10, close to the 5. Covington playing with a broken finger. It's his first interception of the year. A 38-yard return. And you see Warren Moon on the opening drive. He has been a slow starter all year.
Not only 6 of 12 in opening drives, but he's led the NFL the last 2 seasons with 37 interceptions. And right here, a nice line of protection there for Warren Moon. Looking for Carter, but Covington steps right in front. Another pick. And Warren Moon, that's something, as I mentioned, leads the NFL in the last 2 years with 37, now 38 interceptions.
The Buccaneers have missed on chances after takeaways all season long. We'll see what they do here. 1st and 10 from the 7. And Rhett maybe got back to the line of scrimmage. Tackle made by James Harris.
Well, what the defense for the Vikings has been able to do is stop the run. Number 1 against the run. And the Buccaneers, what they want to do is they want to try to stretch that defense. As we noticed in the first drive when they brought in that extra lineman, let's spread those front people out a little further. And on this last play, they went with double tight ends trying to run against this very, very tough Viking defense.
And that's what we talked about a moment ago. Anthony McDowell and Eric Brett, the quarterback Erickson, having a conversation. And time called by Erickson. So we'll take a break. 2nd and goal for Weiss and the Buccaneers when we return. Intercepts a Warren Moon pass. It's 2nd and goal for the Buccaneers inside the Minnesota 10. It's 2nd and goal from the 7. And Warren Moon, 4 interceptions last week. Another one on the first drive here today.
Boy, and it wasn't like Tony Covington was not in the area, then all of a sudden, bang, he's there. You know, from the replay, you could see that he was right there after he threw the football, and not a good decision by Warren Moon.
2nd and goal, Erickson throws down to the 1-yard line. Reception made by Ty J. Armstrong. So it'll be 3rd and goal.
Tom, and we can watch for this Buccaneer offense to really change up the formations. That's one of the things that Sam really enjoys doing, is coming in with different formations, running 2 tight ends, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, just really changing it up. And as their first drive with the elephant formation and the extra lineman in there, he's already shown that they'll do that.
Sean Lowe, backup guard, is checked in. Touchdown, Eric Rhett. And the Buccaneers have a 6-0 lead.
Well, as we see a little motion there by the Buccaneer, and you see that bubble on the right side of that offensive line, and Scott Dill just takes his man to the inside, creates that big crease there for Eric Rhett to slip right in there for the touchdown.
Husted on to add the extra point, and it is good. So the Buccaneers force a rare turnover, only the 13th time they've done that this season, and then turn the turnover into points on the board.
Well, that's something that they've not been able to do. And it was interesting last night talking to Sam Weiss. He told us that their defense, especially in the goal line, has a tendency to leave one side or the other with the bubble look. They'll take that defensive end and put them in the inside gap, and it's up to the quarterback to look and see where that bubble is, which side to run. And that time, Craig Erickson said, hey, the bubble is right. We're going to run that way. Scott Dill just took his guy to the inside, and there the hole was for Eric Rhett.
So now Warren Moon will have to come back out on the field. His team trailing 7-0, and certainly interceptions have been a big part of the story for Moon of late. Off the hands of Adrian Cooper last week in the loss to the Jets. Marcus Turner had 3 interceptions. There's his second. Returned the first for a touchdown. Hasty got in on the act. And then a 4th of the game for Moon on Turner's 3rd. And needless to say, a disappointment for Moon. Offense played well enough to win. I tried to force some things when we got behind. I wasn't sharp at all and did some stupid things. He would probably be in agreement on the last pass he threw.
Well, from what we saw, it didn't appear to be a good choice by Warren Moon, and all we have to do is look at that quote by the veteran quarterback. And he can probably add that one to his list of mistakes as he views the films tomorrow.
Husted and the Buccaneers in front 7-0. Kadri Ismail, number 82, waiting back. Ismail from the goal line after the bounce. And barely got it back to the 15. Pushed out of bounds by Roderick Green.
Boy, he appeared to get over there a little late to that football. Maybe he thought it was going to bounce into the end zone, but it didn't. It took a nice check-up bounce, and he had to grab it and take it upfield. As you watch here, the ball was kicked away towards the sideline there. Between the numbers and the sideline, he thought, well, maybe it'll bounce in, but then he said no. I guess he realized he wasn't quite in the end zone and picked it up and had to get upfield quickly.
1st and 10 for Moon and the Vikings, starting at their own 16. Terry Allen, gain of nearly 4. And on the tackle, number 72, Chidi Ahanatu, along with Brad Culpepper, the former Viking.
Be interesting to see how this Tampa Bay defense can handle this pretty good running team. They've been away from the run, but when they run the ball, they can run it well. Let's see how they handle it, because it's a little different than most 4-3 defenses. One of their 3 linebackers is Barney Bussey, who in the past has been a defensive back, but he's playing the outside linebacker position. And they've had trouble against the run.
Allen takes the pitch and read beautifully by number 22, Thomas Everett, coming up from his safety spot. And the Buccaneers have not defended the rush well this season.
They really haven't. Believe they're giving up quite a few yards, as you see right here. Frisco 181. You go right down the line, averaging 186 yards in the last 5 games, and right there, Thomas Everett said, "The heck with that average. I'm throwing that out the window. I'm forcing," and he does a super job on that one.
Everett playing banged up. A bad knee, a bad shoulder, but he's still in there. Caught by Ismail. 1st down and more. Out to midfield and finally dragged down by Carter. 32-yard gain, Moon to Ismail.
Well, after the completion, there wasn't a whole lot of good tackling going on there. As you see, Warren Moon stepping right into Ishmael. First of all, right there, Hardy, Nickerson, and Magruder missed the tackle. Ishmael takes it up. Covington missing the tackle, finally brought down by Marty Carter. But we noticed, we talked at the beginning of the show about Hardy Nickerson, and after missing that tackle, looked like he was in a lot of pain. But Kadri Ishmael, nice run after that catch.
Moon again to throw. And the pass is caught by Jake Reed. Penalty flagged. Back in the Tampa Bay secondary. Back to the 25-yard line. Lonnie Martz made the tackle. Dick Hantack, our referee. And it goes against the Bucs.
That's an interesting call. Gave the delay of game signal against the defense.
More than likely had 12 men on the field.
Maybe a little confusion back there. Didn't get off the field on time.
Delay, defense, 12 men on the field. 5-yard penalty. Repeat the down. 1st down.
Tom, it's plays like that that really take a toll on a coach, because what that shows that there's guys that are confused about what's going on, either with the personnel change and not getting on and off the field on time.
1st and 5 for the Vikings at the Tampa Bay 46. Hand off to Allen, and he's close to the 1st down. They needed to get just inside the 41. Well, right now for a McDonald's update, let's go to James Brown in our Hollywood studio. JB.
All right, Tom, a Philadelphia fumble gave Atlanta excellent field position. Jeff George finds Terrence Mathis, who had 4 touchdown receptions in 4 years with the Jets. That's his 9th receiving touchdown with the Falcons. Atlanta on top by a touch. Back to Tom and Anthony.
Well, we have seen Atlanta 4 times this season, and the opening drive has certainly been their best friend more times than not. Today, no different. Allen, his 5th carry. Picked up a couple of yards before being tackled by Lonnie Martz and Eric Curry.
Thomas, again, as we look at that Buccaneer defense, you really need those defensive linemen to make their presence. One thing they've not been doing. You look at the tackle total from all their defensive players, and the guys with the most tackles, of course, Hardy Nickerson, who's all over the field. But you look to the defensive secondary, and these are the guys that are making all the tackles.
Floyd Peters, a defensive coordinator, of course, spent 5 seasons in that occupation here in Minnesota. 2nd and 8. Back to the ground. And Culpepper wraps him up. Might have lost a yard.
Well, they've come out determined to get back to the run. They've been trying to run the football, but so far that Buccaneer defense, as you see Brad Culpepper right here, fired up a bit about playing against his former teammates which was his home stadium here, but they haven't been real successful a majority of the times here on the first drive. And you know, this guy, he's got to be fired up. You know, they waived him in the summer. Tampa Bay picked him up right away. Now he gets a chance for the 2nd time this season to play against his former teammates.
A 3rd and 9. And Boone to throw. Threw into triple coverage. Jake Reed was looking for a flag, didn't get it. So the Vikings will have to punt. Mike Saxon, the punter, heads out to the field.
Oh, the only thing with that play is he probably thought that Jake Reed at 6'3" could go up and grab the ball. You see Warren Moon throwing right here. I mean, 2 guys were there with the 3rd coming, but the ball was where it had to be. That was a catchable ball for Jake Reed.
Courtney Hawkins, number 85. Thomas Everett, 22, waiting back on this punt from Mike Saxon. He trying to drop it inside the 20. Can't do it. So they'll bring it out to the 20, where the Buccaneers will put it in play. Tampa Bay on the road. An early 7-0 lead over the Vikings. Munoz back at the Metrodome. A 7-0 Tampa Bay lead. 1st and 10. The Bucs from their own 20. And the pass underthrown, intended for Hawkins, who was looking for a flag, but good coverage.
As we look at the quick pass, you see Courtney Hawkins up top there going one-on-one. The quick slant to the inside, and the ball is, Tom, as you said, thrown behind him. Washington on the coverage. That's one of the things you have to do against this Minnesota defense, is you can't sit back there forever. You have to throw the ball quickly the majority of the time.
2nd and 10. Erickson throws far side to Wilson, tries to backpedal his way to the 1st down, came up about 2 yards shy, and McDaniel stopped him. Well, the Minnesota pass rush, the last 2 games, Anthony Munoz, only 1 sack in over 100 passing attempts. It's hard to believe.
It really is. And a couple key stats on that is you talk to the coaches, and they say, with all those passes, the opposing teams have not been flagged for holding penalties. And also my main concern was, or not concern, but thought was, how are these guys handling it mentally? And Coach John Turling said they're tough, they're competitors, they're bouncing back.
3rd down and 2. The pitch to Rhett. Terrific defensive play made by Carlos Jenkins. Tampa Bay will have to punt.
Is he trying to shake the little paint out of his neck after that big hit? Or, wow, that was a nice play by Carlos Jenkins. Nice look. You see the cocked nose there, and all of a sudden 51 Carlos Jenkins comes into the screen. Paul Gruber trying to push him to the outside, but Eric Rhett was right there. No room to run. Super play by the 4th-year pro out of Michigan State.
Gulliford waiting back on the kick from Dan Straczynski. Very high. Fair catch called for at the 33. And that's where Minnesota puts it in play offensively. Tampa Bay in front here in the opening quarter over the Vikings, 7-0. Of the Minnesota Vikings in the National Football League is prohibited. back at the Metrodome, where Warren Moon and the Vikings trail the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 7-0. 1st and 10 for Minnesota. Robert Smith is checked in for the first time. The lone setback. Chris Carter makes a reception, good enough for the first down, but a penalty flag comes down on the field. If the play stands, Carter has set a single-season Minnesota Viking franchise record with his 89th catch. And it does stand.
Well, it didn't take long to go to the big guy, number 80, Chris Carter. He hadn't been thrown to before this play. And
Illegal
Warren Moon.
contact. Defense number 27. Penalty is declined. Result of the play is a first down.
As we hear the call there, Warren Moon goes right to Chris Carter after being a little quiet. Right here you see his 89th catch of the season. New Viking record. Ricky Young with the old record. Now you get this crowd into it. This is one of the weapons that this Viking team can have. If this crowd can really get into this game, they could benefit from the noise.
Carter just having a remarkable season, leading the NFL with those 89 receptions. And back to the ground. This is Robert Smith's first carry. And he is met by number 77, Mark Wheeler. Maybe picked up a yard. Tampa Bay defending the run very well early on.
Well, they bring in Robert Smith because Terry Allen has run the ball 6 times for 12 yards. So they're going to switch, give it to Robert Smith, try to see if they can get something to him. See the defense, you see a couple of the white shirts across the line of scrimmage. But they just stand those offensive linemen up, and then Mark Wheeler makes the play.
They gave him a yard, 2nd and 9. Moon back to the air in trouble. Dumps it off to Ismail. Took a hit, stays on his feet. Down to the 45. What an effort by Qadri Ismail. Well, that brings back memories of the game-winning touchdown against New Orleans.
Right here you see number 82, Qadri Ismail. And Tom, getting back, they broke that tackle and scored for the winning touchdown. Right here, Mike Magruder has a chance to get Warren Moon. He dumps it off. You see big Brad Culpepper coming up. You see that was Martin Mayhew that put a really good hit on him. But Ismail said, no way. You're not bringing me down by yourself. You have to have a couple other guys to help you.
Moon on 3rd and 3 will hand it off. Amp Lee picks up the first down to the Tampa Bay 39. Amp Lee, a 3rd down specialist for these Vikings. He's a solid player. Signed him as a free agent from the 49ers.
Well, they tried Terry Allen. They go Robert Smith. And on this one, they go to Amp Lee. Right there, you see the stunt really that takes Brad Culpepper out of the play. He stunts around the right end. Amp Lee takes it right up the middle where Culpepper vacated that area, and that sprung him wide open there.
Smith broke a couple of tackles close to the 35. Eric Curry on the stop. And a gain of close to 5.
It appears now that this Viking offensive line is starting to get some uncoil, starting to make some good contact and just driving this defensive front out of the way. Last several plays here, they've been able to get a push, and you can tell when you see those purple jerseys just kind of taking the white ones backwards.
Talk about the rookie Todd Stussy here in a minute. Moon being chased. Fires in and out of the hands of the rookie Andrew Jordan, and boy did he take a lick from Barney Bussey.
Barney Bussey has been known to hit some guys over his career. Of course, Barney Bussey, a former teammate of mine up in Cincinnati with the Bengals, always made some big hits. You know, we had David Fulcher up there who was a starter, but when Barney Bussey would take over for him, he made a big impact not only with his coverage play, but the way he hit people. Right there, Warren Moon had some pressure and dumped it off.
Minnesota would like to run it about 50-50 with the pass. 3rd down, and here comes a blitz. And Moon reads and fires to Carter to the 20. Touchdown saving tackle by Covington. 1st down, Minnesota. 14-yard gain.
Well, when you don't get pressure from your defensive line, you're going to have to blitz once in a while. And that's exactly what the Buccaneers do with Magruder coming off the side there. And you see Chris Carter reading the blitz right away, looking quickly to the inside. Warren Moon hits him with the ball. And again, when you blitz, there's going to be times when the quarterback, and when you have a smart quarterback like Warren Moon, more times than not, he's going to pick up those blitz and hit his receivers quickly.
First and 10. The inside handoff goes to Allen. And he's inside the 10 before Nickerson dragged him down. Running game starting to open up a bit now for the Vikings.
It is, and we mentioned at the beginning of the game that they wanted to get back to the run. See right here, just kind of a little shield block by Jeff Christie, the center, on Mark Wheeler. McDaniel sets to the outside, and the hole just opens up. The center made it appear like it was a pass and just kind of shielded Wheeler, and it, boom, it opened up, and Terry Allen takes it right up the middle.
And Moon asking for a timeout just before the end of the first quarter. So when we come back, it'll be first and 10 for the Vikings.
Hager presents new
Things around, coming in with a 2-game losing streak and trailing here in the final 16 seconds of the first quarter, 7-0. Talked about Todd Stussy. He's a rookie tackle. You went down that road.
Started as a rookie, just as he is this year. Run blocking comes first. You have some problems adjusting to the pass blocking, and that's one of the things he's having problems with in his rookie year.
They can get a first down just shy of the goal line, so it's first and 10 officially from the 11. Allen wrapped up immediately by number 71, Santana Dotson. They've been waiting for Dotson to get back to his rookie year form.
Well, he had a super rookie year, had a lot of sacks. No different for Eric Curry, came in last year. Big rookie year. Both those guys have to get back into it.
Well, that's the end of the first quarter. And our score, Tampa Bay 7, Minnesota nothing, but the Vikes are knocking on the door. The Bay franchise had a 15-game losing streak. They played the Vikings tough and held a 3-2 lead at the half, with the Vikings' only points coming on a Carl Eller safety. But in the third, a 3rd and 14, Tarkington to Chuck Foreman with a game's only touchdown and a 9-3 victory. Minnesota trailing 7-0, but down at the 10-yard line, facing a 2nd and 9.
Well, they moved the ball well here. Warren Moon picking up some blitzes, hitting the wide receivers quickly. And then it looks like this big Viking offensive line is starting to push this Buccaneer defense backwards.
3 wideouts into the game. Little delay to Allen. Tripped up. Barely got back to the line of scrimmage, so now 3rd down and either 8 or 9 yards to pick up the first down.
Buccaneers did a good job on that. A little draw. The defensive lineman did a good job of stalemating the offensive lineman and picking that one up well. You know, you look at that Viking offensive line, it doesn't hurt to have a 5-time Pro Bowler in Randall McDaniel, who, according to Brad Culpepper, a former teammate of his, probably the best in the league. 7-time Pro Bowler Chris Hinton at the right tackle.
Green.
3rd and 8. Boone drops, throws, completes a pass, but not close to the first down. Amp Lee coming out for the reception. Nickerson stopped him right away. And apparently the Vikings will try and kick a field goal.
Good job by the Buccaneer defense. So far holding them to a field goal attempt here. You see Santana Dotson coming through past Daphne, but then Jeff Christie, the center's there to pick him up. Hitting Amp Lee and Hardy Nickerson right there after the reception is made to make the tackle.
23-yard field goal attempt by Reves. He booted 5 in the first meeting between these teams, and that one is good. So the Vikings on the board for the first time today. Tampa Bay in the early moments of the second quarter holding a 7-3 lead. Minneapolis, where there's a great deal of snow on the ground outside, but on the inside, a 7-3 Tampa Bay lead over the Vikings. Wad Reves to kick it off. And again, waiting back, Curtis Buckley, and you're looking at Charles Wilson. This is Wilson. The 25 and across the 30. And some of the numbers from the first quarter.
Well, as we look at -1 yard for the Buccaneers rushing the football, and I think the big one here, right here, time of possession, they haven't really allowed the Buccaneers to have the ball that much. But, you know, for a team that's coming off 2 100-yard rushing games, to come in -1, again, you have the #1 defense against the rush. So that first quarter, that Viking rushing defense doing their job.
Dave Moore, the tight end, in motion, and Erickson to the air. In and out, and then back into the hands. Reception made by Courtney Hawkins, and a stop by Parker. Hawkins takes over the team lead in receptions with 27.
Courtney Hawkins right here shows a lot of concentration, intensity to catch the ball. He goes right out, but then he turns his head quickly, makes sure he grabs the ball as he was being hit. That's some good concentration.
Well, this Minnesota pass defense has been much maligned here in the Minneapolis area the last couple of weeks. Big Tourette. Erickson, a wide open Ty.J. Armstrong. A first down and then some. The stop made by Vincie Glenn. Boy, Armstrong is a big target, isn't he, Anthony?
Big and strong, 6'4", 262. You see him here at the tight end position, just kind of going over the middle there. He outside release, little play fake to the right to Rhett. Ty.J. wide open, nice throw. And then Vincie Glenn makes sure that he doesn't get much further. Nice tackle there. But it was a good release, and that little play fake, faking the run to the right, allowed that Erickson to come back to the left and hit Ty.J. Armstrong.
And Vincie Glenn was injured after trying to stop Armstrong. He's left the game for the time being, and Robert Griffith has checked in. Short pickup by Eric Rhett. Anthony brought up earlier the first meeting between these two teams. Rhett only rushed 9 times for 22 yards. He was a non-factor.
Well, you look at the running back and say, well, he didn't get any yardage, but you have to look at what the defensive linemen do. Right there, Randall kind of one-on-one with Sean Love. There's really not a whole lot of push backwards by that Tampa Bay offensive line, and it doesn't create movement. Therefore, you don't give the running back the line of scrimmage, and he really can't make a decision of where to go.
2nd and 9, Hawkins in motion. Erickson throws, intercepted by Anthony Parker. He's back close to midfield. Parker, his 4th interception of the season.
Well, one of the things about Craig Erickson, he doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes, especially with the interception. But right here, he overthrows Lawrence Dossie. Anthony Parker makes the interception. Tony Dungy, the defensive coordinator of the Minnesota Vikings. The amazing thing about Tony Dungy, he's been associated with defenses since 1983 that have scored 43 touchdowns.
And the numbers just add up on that 1st and 10 incompleted pass. Moon looking for Chris Carter. It'll bring up 2nd and 10, but a penalty flag down on the field, and it goes against the illegal procedure call, the Vikings. Let's go back to that interception a moment ago.
Well, when you talk of defensive touchdowns, you have to mention Anthony Parker, who has 3 defensive touchdowns. And here's a guy, picks another one off, doesn't go back for a touchdown.
Penalty is declined. 2nd down.
But Anthony Parker, the first NFL player and Viking player to score 3 touchdowns in 3 consecutive games. And right here you see their first interception in the last 3 games after getting 13 in the first 8.
Those are the things that Dungy looks for. Allen maybe got a yard. It'll bring up 3rd and 9. Martz and Ahanatu made the tackle. I might butcher that one all day long. I'm not the first guy.
Well, I'm going to let you make the calls on his tackles. As we look again at the big play defense, the disappearing act, the sacks, another one of the big ones. The 3 sacks in the last 3 games, 25 in the first 8 games. Well, that to me shows that they are used to making big plays, and they're not making the big plays in the last 3 games.
3rd and 8. Looked like the Bucs jumped early. Breed play for Moon, and he hits Jake Reed. Pushed out of bounds at the 25. Jake Reed is 64th reception of the season, and a 25-yard pickup.
Let's get the call first here, Tom, and then we'll listen.
Defense in the zone, neutral zone at the snap. Penalty is declined. First down.
After the call, we'll listen exactly why the defense jumped offsides. Warren Moon making them. Super job with the audio, and the inflection of his snap count really made that defense jump.
1st and 10. For the Buccaneers, 25. Allen leaped over a would-be tackler. He's inside the 20, down to the 17. Culpepper brought him down.
Interesting meeting with Brad Culpepper last night, and he talked about coming back in and playing against his former teammates, especially one teammate, Randall McDaniel, he talked about. He said when he came in as a 10th round pick his rookie year, he lined up one-on-one with Randall McDaniel, and he gave it the deer in the headlight. You know, he just kind of froze. McDaniel just kind of picked him up and threw him to the side.
He's done that to a lot of people.
He sure has.
Allen cuts it back inside the 10, spins away down to the 2. Lonnie Martz able to drag him from behind to the turf. 1st and goal after a 16-yard gain for Allen.
Well, after only getting 12 yards on his first 6 carries, he has got it going now as he follows that right side. Chris Hinton with the big block on Chidi Ahana-2. No way Chidi's getting off that block, and then a nice spin move there by Terry Allen. But it all started with big number 78 making a nice block on the defensive end.
Randall McDaniel is checked in as the up back in the I formation. They brought in 2 extra linemen up front. And stopped, no gain. It'll bring up 2nd and goal.
How about when we talked to Randall about being lined up in the backfield? He said, I have a good 20, 30, 40 pounds over the guys. I'm having a 10-yard running start and then hitting. I said, I'll take that anytime when I can get me a running start, get going full speed, and then hit one of those defensive players.
Well, they also have a pass play designed for McDaniel. He's hoping that one of these days they'll let him come through that line, make a quick cut, and catch a touchdown pass.
Well, they have number 66, John Garak, the 2nd-year pro from Penn State, lined up at the right tight end position to get some extra size in there.
And again, McDaniel in the backfield. Play action to the end zone. Overthrown. The intended receiver was Adrian Cooper. It brings up 3rd and goal. And some boos from the Metrodome crowd.
Well, the boos, I think, are coming because Lonnie Martz was covering him. Lonnie Martz out there on Adrian Cooper as Warren Moon throws out there. Ball's just overthrown, and Lonnie Martz was just right there in front of the receiver. I mean, there was really no contact made. I really don't know why the fans are booing on that play.
Well, Randall McDaniel now coming off the field. They bring in an extra wide receiver. The lone setback is Allen. The play clock was down to 2, so Moon asked for timeout. So it'll be a 3rd and goal when we come back. Minnesota trying to get the lead for the first time today.
Break. He was coming off the field. He had reported as an eligible receiver in the backfield, and if they would have continued play, he could not go back to the offensive line and play at guard. He had to come off. But the reason he's able to go back into the game on the following play is because of the timeout. He can now go back to his regular position, left guard.
Well, you know all those rules regarding offensive linemen and eligible receivers, don't you?
Well, as a player, you let the officials make the calls. Now I have to read up on the rules.
3rd and goal from the 2. Blitz coming, Moon to the end zone. And it was batted down. The intended receiver Jake Reed. Terrific coverage by Charles Dimry. He may have got a hand on the pass.
Fans not excited. Revez coming in for a field goal. Let's look at what happened. Jake Reed, who's becoming a big play receiver. See, nice view back here. You're the quarterback. You do it. Throw the ball. But Charles Dimry makes a nice play, bringing that right arm across, knocking the ball down. Super defensive play by Charles Dimry, the 7th-year pro out of UNLV.
A 21-yard attempt by Revez. And it is good. So the woes continue for Minnesota deep in the opposition's territory. You may remember last week, Anthony, 10 times the Vikings got inside the Jets' 32. However, 4 turnovers, including the 1 return 90 yards for a touchdown, prevented big points and point production from the Minnesota offense. It turned out to be costly in a 31-21 defeat.
Well, all you have to look is their total yards. And right here you see what's happened. The 10 opportunities they've gotten in 4-time turnover, 3 touchdowns. I mean, it goes on and on. You look at their total yardage, and there's no question. They can move the ball up and down the field. But that doesn't do any good when you can't put the points on the board.
No, and you bring that up, Anthony, and in that game last week, to back up what you're talking about, Dennis Green's team outgained the Jets in total yards, 461 to 282, but lost the game.
But the difference, the Jets got into the end zone, and the Vikings did not.
Boy, and your old quarterback, did he look sharp last week? Boomer Esiason.
Boy, he looked terrific, just picking that defense apart. 22 of 29, and every pass was right there. They were hitting the seams of that Viking defensive zone, and I mean, every throw a lot of the throws he was making, the guy was not wide open, but the receivers were sitting down in the open areas, and when the defense would converge, they were just a step late, and Boomer was already getting the ball there to the guys.
Well, early on, an interception by Warren Moon by Tony Covington gave Tampa Bay prime field position. They went in for the touchdown, an early 7-0 lead. A pair of drives by the Vikings, but only able to put up a couple of Wad Revez field goals, 7-6 with 8:16 to play here in the second quarter. Buckley and Wilson waiting back on the kick from Revez. Wilson at the 5. Big hole. And he's across the 45 and finally tripped up. Brent Novoselsky able to at least get a hand around the ankle.
Boy, he was just barely tripped up because that hole opened up big time. You see Mike Sullivan right there on the wedge. Leading the way is Curtis Buckley saying, oh, I'm trying to come get a block. But by that time, Charles Wilson is just blowing past his lead back, and he is barely tripped up, or else he would have gone for even more yardage.
And Novoselsky is down on the field. Hopefully nothing serious.
Tom, I'm not surprised that you're seeing a lot of this, but I'm surprised you're not seeing more and more guys getting injured on kickoff coverage, kickoff return. The ball's being moved back 5 yards this year. They're not getting the height on the kick, so both teams are getting more of a chance to really build up some speed as they come down when the final time. Right there, you see it. Makes the initial contact on the tackle, and then as he's going down, he hits another guy.
Well, we'll take a break. It's 7-6 Buccaneers in the second quarter. Who holds the Tampa Bay Buccaneers single game rushing record? We'll give you the answer to that in just a few moments. 1st and 10 for the Buccaneers at their own 45. Early movement. Brett takes a handoff, has a big hole, and blockers in front. Down to the 35. Bensie Glenn tripped him up. But again, a penalty flag on the field. It looked like early movement. That was Eric Rett's 6th carry. His first 5 carries, he had managed 0 yards. That was a 20-yard pickup.
Well, I believe it was number 92, Roy Barker. We get the call here.
92. Penalty is declined. Result of the play, first down.
Well, we saw Warren Moon with his snap count, his voice, bringing the defensive lineman across. Craig Erickson did the same thing. A free play right here after the penalty. Nice job by that offense. You see Ian Beckles right here blocking Todd Scott. Brett runs through him after the block by Beckles, but that right side of the offensive line just took and pushed him in, allowing Rhett to make that run.
Play fake. Erickson to the end zone, and he just overthrew Horace Copeland. That had 6 written all over it.
Well, Horace Copeland came in last year's rookie year, made some big catches. Those are down this year. But it was the nice play-action fake by Craig Erickson that brought that defense up. Horace Copeland was behind the defense, but Craig Erickson overthrew him. They had a chance right there for 6.
2nd down and 10 at the Minnesota 35. Back to the ground. Rhett cuts it back. A pickup of close to 5. And McDaniel wrapped him up. It'll bring up 3rd down for the Buccaneers. Well, the answer to our Aflac trivia question gave you time to think about it. James Wilder, 219 big ones against Minnesota. Got to go back 11 years for that.
I remember him as a player. Played against him several times. We used to, as a Bengal, we used to play the Buccaneers in the preseason just about every year. Played them during the regular season several times. Super back.
3rd and 5. Erickson to the far side. Completes a pass to Anthony McDowell, but shoved out of bounds by Scott. Maybe a yard shy, half a yard shy of the 1st down. Well, do you go for it?
Well, first of all, the Buccaneers doing a super job with their patterns. They're clearing out the area. They're crossing their men. And right here, they cross, and Anthony McDowell is wide open there. Todd Scott having to make that tackle. Again, they're clearing out areas, allowing receivers to get open by trying to mix up that defensive secondary.
Well, they're going to bring the chains to the other side of the field for a measurement here. They appear to be short. Yeah, easily a yard short. And if you're Sam Weiss, do you go or not?
I go. I tell you, I'm bold this year. I'm going to go for a lot of those. Go for a lot of those on 4th down, especially you're this deep inside. Why not?
Well, your job doesn't hang on it.
That's true. That's why I can sit up here and say bring a couple more offensive linemen in there, get some bigger guys, just get a nice push, give it to Eric Rhett, get the 1st down and go on.
All right. Sure, Munoz. It's always easy up here. And you've been talking about wanting to get into coaching.
I tell you, I'd go on every 4th down. I mean, even if I was back at the 30. You know?
Yeah. Well, there you see what the Buccaneers have done on 4th down this season. And the crowd will make some noise. Erickson. It looks like he got it. Across the 25. So they brought in that elephant along the offensive line. They call it their elephant formation. Explain that a little bit, Anthony.
I'm glad you said formation, because they bring Mike Sullivan in, and you just said elephant. I'd hate to call Mike Sullivan an elephant, but it is an elephant formation. Bring an extra lineman in. Get some bigger bodies up there. You see number 70, Charles McRae, Tony Mayberry in the center position, Ian Beckles. Just take those middle 3 guys. You have the center as the apex of the wedge. You bring the other lineman in, make kind of a V, and you just push, as they did. They get the 1st down.
Boy, apex. It's a new word.
That's right.
Very nice. 1st and 10 at the Vikings 25. Rhett takes a handoff. Boy, the one thing you talk to the Buccaneer offensive lineman, Eric Rhett is a rookie. He came in, got a lot of money, a 2nd-round pick, but a tremendous work ethic.
We talked to Tony Mayberry yesterday, and he did talk about that. A hard worker, just always wanting to improve. And when you have a guy with that much ability, and he's not just going to come in and say, hey, I'm here, I have all this ability, it's time to play. But he's going to come in and say, what do I do to get better? That rallies your teammates around you.
2nd down and 7. Again, it's Rhett. Big one-man miss. Now another. And drags Anthony Parker close to the first half. Well, Eric Rett, the only back in NCAA Division I history to rush for over 4,100 yards and catch more than 150 passes.
Well, you know, one of the things that a lot of offenses do, if they don't have success early, they go away from the run. But the Buccaneers have not done that. They continue to give the ball to Eric Rett, and he's making positive things happen. They could have very easily gone away from the run after that first quarter, but they've stuck with it, and they're starting to get some success here. And right there, you see, they get a first down.
Well, Anthony, we talked about a moment ago, Eric Rett, his first 5 rushes, 0 yards. But on this drive, he's starting to pile it up. As you see, the last 2 weeks, better than 100 yards. Detroit and Seattle, the teams he did it against, first time since James Wilder. Now he has, on his last 4 carries, does Rett 35 yards.
You know, that not only builds his confidence, but it also builds the confidence of the offensive line, because maybe early they weren't getting the push. So now Sam Weiss is saying, hey, we believe in you as an offensive line. You can move these guys out, so we're going to continue to run the ball.
Play fake. Erickson being chased. Steps up front. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Courtney Hawkins, his 5th touchdown of the season.
And Tom, right here you see Courtney Hawkins, and what happens when you're running the ball? Well, a little play fake there to the running back, and it opens up the pass. The Buccaneers have been successful running the ball. Courtney Hawkins takes it across the field, continues to go, and you have a tendency to pull those linebackers up if they're playing in zone, because they might see the run, and that clears things up right there. Erickson did a nice job getting the ball to him.
14-yard touchdown reception. Used it on for the extra point. He drills it through the uprights, and Tampa Bay, losers of 6 in a row, leading the Minnesota Vikings here at the Metrodome 14-6.
You know, they're up 14-6, and if you looked at the total yards and the time of possession, you would say these guys can't be ahead, but they're making the big plays right now. And as we look at that play one more time, and you see it wasn't a clean play because Henry Thomas is coming off, and a nice block by Charles McCray, making sure that Henry Thomas didn't get to Craig Erickson, and Courtney Hawkins keeps coming across the back of the end zone there. Erickson makes a nice throw as number 20, Dwayne Washington, tries to cover Courtney Hawkins. Erickson excited about it, pumping of the fist. Kind of like what I do when I'm sharing stuff, huh?
Well, when you get all excited.
Well, I get excited watching this game. I mean, this is a fun game for me, and I enjoy being here. I mean, you've got all these people in here making their way through all that snow. Finally, they're getting in here. They're getting warmed up. But they don't have a lot to cheer for, at least right now.
I got news for you, brother. We might be staying an extra night. 8 plays, 55 yards. And you see Eric Rett, a big part on the ground.
Well, again, going back to what Tony Mayberry was saying, and you can tell by watching the tape of the last previous games, is that he's not hesitant when he gets the ball. You can tell he's getting more and more comfortable with the offense. And this offense, the running game, allows you to cut it back if you see things, and he'll take it right up to the line of scrimmage. If it's there on the onside, he'll just push it right up. If it's not there, he has the opportunity to cut it back. And I think you can tell by watching the film that he's very comfortable and confident with what's going on out there, just by how fast and how quick he's hitting the hole.
And Eric Rett, just a delightful young man. We had a chance to visit with him, and his family's still stunned that he is getting paid to play football. Robert Smith and Ismail wait. It's Ismail in the end zone. He'll go down on a knee. They'll bring it out to the 20. Want to remind you, next week, join Terry, Howie, Jimmy, and JB at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, for the #1 pregame show on TV. Then, except for Detroit and Tampa, it's a Fox NFL Sunday doubleheader. Dallas takes on Philadelphia. And then the action continues at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific, when the Packers meet the Lions. Check local listings for the game and time in your area right here on Fox Sports. Warren Moon, 6 out of 12, 95 yards, has been intercepted once. And Moon coming out firing. terrific coverage by Charles Dimry. He was all over Jake Reed.
Charles Dimry made a big play last time they had the ball. Right here you see him on Jake Reed, who's big, is strong, can get up and go after the football. But Charles Dimry doesn't give up. In fact, Jake Reed makes a little bit of an effort to get away from him, but falling down, Dimry kind of extends his arm and knocks the ball down. Really good effort on that play.
Well, the Buccaneer defensive secondary whistled for a couple of critical calls on Seattle's final drive last week. Turned out to be the game-winning drive. And Moon is sacked by Mark Wheeler. His first sack this season, and only the 10th for the Buccaneer defense.
It's amazing when things are going good for a team how contagious it can be. Right here you see Mark Wheeler right over the center there, just kind of starting out with the bull rush. Then he gets a grab with that left hand and jerks Jeff Christie towards him, gets him off balance and takes it around the center, allowing him to get that sack. But it was set up nice by really putting a lot of pressure into the offensive lineman and then tugging him towards him as the lineman tried to be stout, stop him. Nice move by Mark Wheeler.
3rd and 19. Moon in trouble. Not even close. Carter, the intended receiver. Moon took a hit after he let it fly from Santana Dotson and Chidi Ahanatu.
Well, up until this series, Tom, Warren Moon had some pretty good time to throw the football, but you have Mark Wheeler who gets the sack. This last play gets pressure, makes him throw it up wildly. So it appears, like I said, it can be contagious. You have your defensive secondary playing well. Now we talked about earlier how this defensive line had to step it up. In this series, they do.
Courtney Hawkins is dropped back, waiting on the punt from Mike Saxon. Buccaneers, plenty of time. 4:30 left to play in the half, and they're going to get pretty good field position. Beautiful kick. Hawkins back to his own 35. Comes to the outside, and he crosses the 40 to the 42. A 54-yard boot. Hawkins looking for a late hit now. A few bodies pushing and shoving along the sideline. Roderick Green involved.
Well, let's look at this once again and see if we can find out what's going on here on the sideline. See bodies flying. Courtney Hawkins is out of bounds. Oh, Lamar McGriggs comes over. I'd say that's a penalty. I mean, Hawkins is sitting there. He's run out of bounds, and he's waiting for things to clear. All of a sudden, McGriggs comes over and just nails him. I can't believe that. That was obvious.
Well, I'm sure if anybody is yelling and screaming about it, it's Sam Weiss. He has certainly wondered about some of the calls that went against his team last week and a few others this season. And if he's complaining about that, he has a good gripe. Play fake right through the hands of a wide open Ty J. Armstrong. So it'll bring up 2nd and 10. Well, when Torres and Williams were growing up, they used to break the law. Now they are the law. They're the hippest cops on television, working the toughest beat in the nation. Get ready for the ride of your life. Catch New York Undercover Thursday at 9 Eastern, 8 o'clock Central.
They kind of got our handshake down, the slap of the fist.
Right. Yeah, you give that to me before every broadcast.
We're setting the trend, Tom.
Man, by the 3rd quarter, you punch me in the chest. Flag comes down. Play is whistled dead.
Well, hopefully in a year or two, when if I'm still doing this, I won't have to hit you because I'll be over playing the game. You know, I'm still not that far from since I played.
Yeah.
I still get a little excited once in a while.
Yeah, well,
Turn the game clock to read 4:18. Ball start. Offense simulating the start of a play prior to the snap. 5-yard penalty, still 2nd down.
That'll be a 2nd and 15. Just do me a favor. Just take it easy on me here, big fella.
I will. Right there you can see the total yards, a little different for the Buccaneers. They start out with 12 in the first. Since then, 87. Just the opposite. Minnesota starts off with 95 in the first, and they cut almost in half. My math has never been that good. I mean, 45, 47, 48.
2nd down and 15. Deep drop for Erickson. Fires far side. Rhett makes a reception. Jenkins immediately knocked him down. Maybe got back to the original line of scrimmage, so it'll bring up a 3rd and 10. It's a big drive for the Buccaneers on offense and the Vikings on defense.
Well, you would think in this stadium, indoors, you have a sold-out crowd that maybe the crowd could be a factor in this game, but they've yet to get going, and they really haven't made it difficult for this Buccaneer offense for the snap count, for the audibilizing at the line of scrimmage. So maybe that's something that the Vikings would like to see here with their hometown fans.
3rd and 9. Play clock down to 1. They just did get it off. Erickson. And it's dropped by Rhett. Second drop pass on the drive. And the Buccaneers will have to punt it back to Minnesota with 3:24 remaining until halftime.
Well, you see Eric Rhett right here in the backfield. Erickson coming back. James Harris getting a little bit of pressure against, not much, but he's back there. You have to make that catch. That ball was right there. He's a rookie, but he still has to make that catch because really there was nobody around him.
Culliford waiting back on the punt from Dan Straczynski. And plenty of time for Moon and the Viking offense to do some damage. It's leading up to halftime. From the 15. And immediately, man, that is one real positive area for the Buccaneers all season long. Their punt coverage is the best in the NFL.
Well, when you're only giving up 3.2 yards of return, not only is your punter doing a super job, but your coverage is getting down there and getting after it, not allowing the opponents to take the ball back upfield. And that is amazing. 3.2 yards of return.
They did not have, being made the opposition against Tampa Bay's punting team, did not have a return for positive yardage up until last week since the 25th of September. That is remarkable.
That is amazing.
Boone starts from his own 14. Amp Lee trying to break it to the outside. Nowhere to go. Maybe got a couple. Finally stopped by Hardy Nickerson. Well, for the Vikings, needless to say, a crucial game, Anthony.
It really is. They have the Bears right there, 7-4 with them. But one of the things that the Vikings have in their advantage is this 4-1 division record along with Green Bay. But this is a big game because of the fact that the Bears are 7-4 and they're right there behind them.
And the Bears come here to the Metrodome on Thursday night for a Central Division showdown. Bears will be here on Fox later today in Arizona. Ismail on the reception, first down and then some out to the 28. Covington and Nickerson on the stop. Well, it's been a quiet game for Carter, only 2 receptions. Jake Reed with 1. Ismail leading the club with 3.
Well, Warren Moon might just be waiting, kind of lull that defense to sleep, and all of a sudden they pop Carter on him, but maybe the secondary of the Buccaneers is doing a super job covering him.
Final play before the 2-minute warning. They try to go deep looking for Ismail. Fine coverage again by the Tampa Bay secondary led by Charles Dimring. So that brings us to the 2-minute warning. 1:55 left to go in the half. And Tampa Bay on the road in front by 8. ISC All-Pro Leroy Selman harassed the Vikings into 3 QB sacks of Fran Tarkington. And the Buck defense intercepted his replacement, Tommy Kramer. Limited the Vikings to 60 total yards in a 16-10 victory.
Not good seeing that 63 right here. Oh, he's got to get a little happier. I mean, this guy, he needs a smile on his face. He's got that frown going. He needs the Vikings to do something.
Well, the Vikings trailing 14-6. 1:55 left to go in the half on a 2nd and 10. And Moon in trouble. Are they going to say he was in the grass, or did he get the pass away? Apparently it will go as a sack for Brad Culpepper, his 3rd of the year. And the 3rd Buccaneer sack of Moon in the game.
Oh, you could tell by last night that he was fired up to be here, and you see him coming around the stunt. Nice job by the defensive end, McIntosh, hitting to the inside, allowing Brad Culpepper to come around. They didn't switch that one off. There's nobody there to pick him up. He's even sadder now after that one.
Well, 1:43 left until halftime, and it's 14-6 Tampa Bay. Tends to be putting the heat on an opposing quarterback, isn't it, Anthony?
Well, we're not even at halftime yet, and this is their first game that they have 3 sacks. And Culpepper, you see him there. Right here, you see 3 sacks, 4 hurries, 2 knockdowns, 1 interception. They forced Warren Moon to scramble 3 times, so this defense is really making things happen out there. And we call Brad Culpepper's name. So far, before halftime, 6 tackles. He's off to a good start.
3rd and 18. They need to get out to the 38-yard line. Flag comes down. Maybe a free play for Moon. Flushed out. Throws. Caught by Lee and has room. First down to midfield. Pushed out of bounds at the Tampa Bay 45 by Tony Covington. 35-yard gain on what was a 3rd and 18.
Well, changing the snap count once again. Warren Moon, I believe, got Santana Dotson to jump off sides, therefore having a free play to hit Amp Lee.
Defense in the neutral zone. Penalty is declined. First down.
Let's look at this one. You see Amp Lee, the only one in the backfield right here. So they run the 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 running back. They know it's a free play. Then the flag's been thrown, so Warren Moon, he rolls to the right to probably get a better view. You know, things are clogged up in the middle, rolls out a little bit, allows him to see Amp Lee down there and hits him for a nice gain.
Screen to Robert Smith. First down to the Buccaneer 33. Ahana made the tackle. And 1:20 left to go until halftime. Vikings playing the hurry-up offense.
Right there you see Floyd Peters giving the defensive signals quickly.
Moon on a 1st and 10. Good protection this time. It throws to the middle of the field, and it's caught by Andrew Jordan. And we're at 1 minute to go.
And sometimes I wonder where these coaches come up with signals. You know, as the Vikings are in the hurry-up offense, it looked like Floyd Peters was salting his food right there as he was giving his defensive signal. And you see Brad Culpepper getting a little bit of a quick start.
You mentioned earlier, Culpepper, very excited about this one. Played here in Minnesota a couple of years. They turned him loose just before the opener this year. Here's Dick Hantak.
Defense, number 73. Defender made contact. 5 yards. Still 2nd down.
Boy, the little things have killed the Buccaneers this season. Well, coming up on the Dockers halftime, James and Terry will have all today's scores and highlights from around the league. Plus, we'll look at the NFL's most spectacular plays in the latest edition of Choice Cuts. All coming up next on the Dockers halftime.
Right here you see Sam Weiss, 3rd year with the Buccaneers. Of course, I had the opportunity to play for Sam for 8 years in Cincinnati. And you can tell that this has been tough for him, especially this year. Needs a win, get things turned around.
And the Vikings need a win to stay in a tie for 1st place with the Bears in the Central. On a 3rd and 2, the blitz, and Moon is sacked. Back at the 34 by Marty Carter. 4th sack of the game by the Buccaneers. And remember, the Tampa Bay defense had a total of 9 all year.
Well, Marty Carter, who's averaged 100 tackles per year, right there. Padre Ishmael knows that he's coming. He can't block him.
On a 3rd and 10, Moon trying to find Ismail, and he was hammered to the deck yet again.
I tell you, that was rare, watching a defensive back beating a wide receiver one-on-one, pass blocking and pass rushing. Basically is what you had there with Marty Carter against Ishmael. As we look at the 3rd down here, the Buccaneer defense stepping it up, knowing they have to make a play here. Pressure put on Warren Moon. Nobody near that throw. Not even close.
Long field goal try by Revés. It'll be a 51-yarder. His long this season is 48. And now they want timeout. The play clock was down to 3. So we'll step out. 38 seconds left to play until halftime, and the Buccaneers all over Minnesota.
One-on-one, a little different here. He's coming on the blitz, beats him to the inside. You see Cadre right there trying to block him. But Marty Carter gets the sack. I like seeing those smaller guys doing a little pass rush and pass blocking. That's nice to see for once.
This will be a 51-yard attempt by Reve. His career long is 52. Spot is down. He nailed it. And it is good. So Reve hit 5 in the game against Tampa Bay earlier this season. And he has accounted for all the Vikings scores here today. 3 of 3 in the afternoon. A 51-yard boot.
Well, Revez in his 10th year out of Tennessee. Mike Saxon puts it down, and he thumps that one. I mean, plenty of distance. Right down the gut. And right there, a little celebration by the kickers. Notice how they kind of get their arms up, and they didn't hit each other that hard. They just kind of leaned into each other.
They're not interested in that contact.
That's right.
You ought to lay off
guys.
the little guys. Not everybody's 6'7", 275 pounds. And you've been beating up on me for a month.
Hey, you get some defensive backs out there that are 5'8", 5'9", and come up and hit you. I mean, they're smaller guys. I was going to say short, but smaller guys.
Right, yeah. You have a complexion before this year is over. Now the Buccaneers with 33 seconds left own a 14-9 lead, and this has been a good half of football for Sam Weich's team.
It really has. First of all, right there you see that the drive by the Vikings, 10 plays, 53 yards, but ending in a field goal. Getting back to it, Sam Weich has to be happy with this first half. His offense moving the football, scoring points, but his defense really playing well. Causing making some big plays. I mean, they have to be thrilled. And right here, doesn't look like he's real thrilled about it, but I'm sure inside, he's happy with this first half, but he knows still half to play.
Well, Turk Schonert, your former teammate in Cincinnati, now the quarterback's coach with the Buccaneers, told us before the game, they really like to get end of the third, beginning of the fourth, in a tight game with Minnesota and then take their chances from there.
Well, Turk also said that this team is still playing extremely hard. It's not like they've tossed in the towel and say, hey, let's just get done with the rest of the season. These guys are still flying around, trying to make plays, giving it a complete effort. And it's obvious that they've done it so far here in the first half.
Wilson had a 41-yard return earlier in the game. He waits alongside Buckley. It's Wilson again. Saw a hole, and it closed up quickly out to the 29 before being tripped up by Charles Evans. Well, you've been in this situation many times with Sam Weich. Will he consider putting it up or go to the locker room leading by 5 at halftime?
Well, I think I know in the past you've asked me that question. I said, well, let's put it up. Let's get some points. But right here, I think we're in a little different situation. They do have the lead. They've been controlling things. They don't want anything to seriously go wrong right before half to give the Vikings some momentum. So I think they just go ahead and kill it.
Well, no sooner do you say that, they bring in a 4 wideout set. And they operate out of the shotgun. Vince Workman, the lone setback. Boy, Sam's even fooling you, Anthony. Erickson. And it's caught. A juggling act by Hawkins out to the 45. And the Buccaneers, as they'll move the chains, 20 seconds left.
Well, that's why I'm with you in the booth and not down there coaching. Let's look at Courtney Hawkins coming in motion. The 3 wide receivers. They clear out that area, and he takes it to the inside. Little bobble there. The ball almost goes through his hands, but he stays with it. Once again, showing excellent concentration in making that catch.
Well, Hawkins, a 16-yard pickup. The Buccaneers spent a timeout. It is their final timeout of the first half. See the numbers on Hawkins, and I know you had a chance to be around him last year. He's a good one.
He really is. I was there, actually a member of the Buccaneer team all through training camp, had a chance to play in 3 of the 4 preseason games and really watch a lot of these players play. And Courtney Hawkins is a good one. He's at 5'9", 183 pounds, but he goes after the football.
Yeah, he had 62 receptions last season. Had a broken hand this year. It, kind of got him out of the gate slowly, but now beginning to come on. He had 6 catches in the game against Seattle, including a couple of touchdowns last week. Again, a 4-wideout set for Erickson. Steps up, throws, and the catch is made by Wilson. The clock continues to run. The Buccaneers are out of timeouts. Erickson trying to get him to the line of scrimmage and spike the ball after a 22-yard pickup. Clock down to 2, and he did in time spike it. And they're going to bring out the field goal unit.
Nice time management there. Boy, they did an excellent job, regardless to what I said. Heck, don't pay attention to what I said. They went up, they lined it up, brought in all those wide receivers, marched down, and they're giving Michael Husted a chance to get three more points before they go in at halftime here. And this, by no means, is out of his range.
No. Husted bagged a 57-yarder. That's his career best. His seasonal best is 49. This from 51. He hooked it. Had plenty of leg, but it's wide left. But the Buccaneers riding the tide of momentum. Sam Weich's team on the road in front of Minnesota. 14th of 18 has been so much talk about a sale, maybe a move out of the Tampa area, yet they continue to play very hard, and that's certainly indicative of their first half of play.
Well, I know as we read through the articles that we received during the week, that's every other article was about who was going to put a bid in on buying the Buccaneers. You know, this guy, that guy, this group, that group. And with all that going on, you would think that that would be a major distraction. But going back to our conversation with Turk Schoner last night, he said, that's the one thing about our guys. All this stuff's going on with the football team, not knowing if we're going to be out of Tampa, in Tampa, new ownership, new this, new that. These guys are playing hard. They continue to fly around on the football field, play, concentrate on what they have to do.
Defensively, the big difference for the Buccaneers in the first half. Gave a lot of pressure to Warren Moon, and it forced the one interception we showed you a moment ago. And even though the passing yards don't look too bad, it doesn't tell the whole story, does it?
It really does. I think one of the things we don't see here is the pressure that defensive line has put on Warren Moon. 4 sacks by that defense. You know, you look at the time of possession, sure, the Vikings have an advantage there, but it's the big plays that the Buccaneers are making this first half.
If you're Dennis Green, what do you say to your team here at halftime? You had a few chances there, but just couldn't punch it in. That's been a problem inside the opposition's 30 or 20-yard line down in that red zone.
Well, they have been successful running the football, so I think you continue to run the football. But there's one guy that only has 2 catches in the first half. Chris Carter, you have to get him back into your offense. Here's a guy that's on pace to catch 128 balls, and he has 2 catches. You need to get him back in things.
And if you're Sam Weich on the other side, obviously you have to be pleased with the first half. What about the second?
Well, you know that the Vikings are going to make adjustments. You have to continue to mix it up as they have in the first half, not only with their play calling, but something that they've done extremely well is their formations. They've really mixed it up with the personnel they've gone with. They've added a tight end. They go 2 tight ends. They might go 3 wide receivers. They might bring in a big offensive lineman and put him at the tight end position. So they have to continue to do that.
See the numbers on Carter. And as Anthony mentioned, on pace to catch 128 passes. That would absolutely shatter the NFL record set a season ago of 112 by the Green Bay Packers standout wide receiver Sterling Sharp. Well, don't adjust your set. You don't have a lot of smokers necessarily here at the Metrodome. They tell me you can't do it here in the building. But they do have halftime, and they do have fireworks, and they do have that guy to try and get them revved up.
That's the same one that revs that Harley up and jumps on it and drives around.
Looks like you riding around Cincinnati.
Little cold to be riding with sleeveless shirts in Cincinnati.
Ismail and Robert Smith waiting on the second half kickoff. It'll be Smith from the 7. The former Buckeye crosses the 20, and he's wrestled down at the 27. So here we go, the opening possession of the second half, and some pushing and shoving. These two teams get together twice a year, and thus you build a pretty good rivalry, as always, within the division.
You can bet you see a lot of that. Getting to your point, as you see the stats right here, Warren Moon 9 of 17 for 96 yards. But this is right here. This is the one that you continue to see, and it continues to hurt Warren Moon. That's the interception. He has 1 today, had 4 last week. My point I was getting make is that you'll see that a lot, pushing and shoving between teams that are in the same division, play each other twice a year.
First and 10 from their own 28, and Moon comes out throwing, and immediately, as you pointed out, gets Chris Carter involved. Gain of about 7, pushed out of bounds by Charles Dimry.
Tom, it's no different than when you have a big play man on the defense. Your whole offensive scheme is, your strategy is put together with that guy in mind. No different with Chris Carter. When you have a guy like Chris Carter, your whole defensive scheme, you have to pay attention to him. They've come out the first play, they got him involved, so you bet they're going to really be watching him here in the second half.
For Carter, his 3rd catch of the game, and they try it on the ground with Terry Allen, and he is well shy of the first down. Lonnie Martz came up and met him head on. Jake Reed only caught 1 ball in the first half.
There's a duo that has had a super year this year. Jake Reed, number 86, big guy, 6'3", 217. You know, one of the guys that comes up all the time when you talk about Jake Reed is Herman Moore because of his size, his strength. They say Jake Reed is bigger and stronger than Herman Moore.
3rd and a yard. Handed off to Amp Lee. Breaks a tackle. First down and more out to the 42. Mark Wheeler on the stop. First down for the Vikings.
Well, Mark Wheeler did an excellent job recovering there. The Buccaneers had a blitz on this play, as you see the eyes of Hardy Nickerson, the middle linebacker. Right there you see 22 Thomas Everett had a chance to make the tackle, but they did bring a blitz. Amp Lee gets through there, and as I said, Mark Wheeler made a second effort play and running back down and making that tackle.
Back to the 2 tight end formation here. Comes from the outside, and the sack on Moon by Eric Curry. Back to the 33. 5th time that Moon has been sacked today. That must be Curry's sack dance. It's not a good one.
Well, here's their number 1 pick from a year ago. Right here, right here you have Eric Curry, the 2nd-year pro out of Alabama, just beating Todd Stussy around the corner. And it was all done because of his quickness off the football, getting around him, and to make the sack on Warren Moon. We talked earlier about the problems Todd Stussy's having on the pass, and right there.
2nd down and 18. And a screen to Amp Lee. Shrug 1 tackler and gets it back out to the 37. Gain of about 5. Marty Carter on the stop. It'll bring up 3rd down for Minnesota. Get back to Todd Stussy. You know, you were talking about some of the problems he's had in pass blocking situations.
Well, one of the things you have to do, again, I talked about putting your game plan around different players. No different here. They know he can handle the run blocking, but as a pass blocker, you see the tight end lining up right beside him. You have to give him help with either the tight end, a running back, or slide your line that way with the guard to give him some help.
3rd and 15. They need to get to the Buccaneer 48 for a first down. Moon, great protection this time. Nearly intercepted again. Covington on the coverage. Reed, the intended receiver. Minnesota has to punt.
Well, Tony Covington picked one off in the first half. Right there, nearly picks off another one. As you see, Brad Culpepper getting through there and putting a little bit of a hit on. But right there, super coverage. Right in front of Jake Reed and almost comes down with the football.
This Buccaneer team has come to Minnesota with a 6-game losing streak. You'd never know it through 1 half and a first possession. Flag on the field. Hawkins will let it drop, picks it up at the 18, and that's where he's tackled by number 29, Charles Evans. But again, a penalty flag after a 47-yard punt. It'll go against Minnesota, and they'll bring it back, and I'm sure that they'll make them punt it again.
No question about it. Give Charles Smith, I'm sorry, not Charles Smith, Charles Wilson Smith, this Charles Wilson, another chance to run this one back. Right now, another conference going on. trying to decide that maybe that isn't the right call. I don't know. With the way
Right.
things have been going with the officials the last several weeks, see what happens.
Ask Sam Weiss about that. And you'll get a lengthy answer.
You know, and it's tough for a head coach to really sit down and discuss that because, you know, when you lose a ball game, it's tough to really look at the officiating and complain about it. That's something right here, as you see Sam right here being vocal about what's going on. I'm sure it has to do with the calls.
We have illegal motion on the kicking team. They were not set. We have invalid signal by the receiving team with a new rule. The motion on the offensive team is declined. We will penalize the receiving team 5 yards. It's first down, receiving team.
Oh, that was very kind of Dick Hantack to point that out. And it'll be Buccaneer football. We'll take a break in the action.
Trying to get Charles Wilson, I just said Charles Smith, and it was Courtney Hawkins. Well, I could have been down there making that call, you know.
Wow. We saw Charles Smith, Chuck Smith, the last couple of weeks with Atlanta.
That's right, defensive end. We've had him 4 times. Thanks, that's what I was thinking about.
And I understand we're on in Atlanta again today, and I know they're thrilled about that.
And we'd like to say hi to all the people in Atlanta. I'm sure they've missed us for a week.
Got a lot of good friends down there. The heartland of the South. But they're rooting on their Buccaneers right now in Tampa. And why not? They're playing solid football here today. A huge underdog coming into this one.
They've done an excellent job, excuse me, excellent job creating plays, making the big plays, taking advantage of some mistakes by the Vikings and turning them into some big points. And right now with the 14-9 lead, you know, coming out in the second half, and you see a little chatting going on between Paul Gruber and John Randall. You know, that can happen because, you know, John Randall doesn't line up against Paul Gruber. So they can talk all they want, and then John Randall's going to go over the guard, and Charles McCray has the handle.
Did you ever jaw with a defensive lineman like that?
Only the guys that I didn't have to block, you know, so that gets them a little fired up.
Well, Sam inquiring about the last call. It did appear that Courtney Hawkins waved for a fair catch. Then he let the ball drop, picked it up, started to run. And you heard the official say that that call overrides the illegal procedure call against Minnesota, the punting team, so they'll back him up. And let's show you about Courtney Hawkins here. And you can see he does wave for a fair catch.
Well, as he comes up to the football, there it is. One time across, gets it up there. We know he's not shielding his eyes from the sun because we're indoors, so that was definitely a fair catch signal. You see Sam upset about it. He wants an explanation. I'm sure he's saying, you guys come over here and give me an explanation.
Well, you know, Anthony, there has been a great deal made about the officiating this season, and we saw 2, quite frankly, blown calls in that Denver-Atlanta game last week. We chatted with Jerry Seaman, the head of the NFL officials, before the game today, and certainly a big deal is being made about that all over the league.
I would have a tendency to believe that that issue is going to be addressed after the season. Because of that fact, Tom, I know week to week as we do the games, we have at least 2 or 3 every week that are very questionable.
First and 10 from their own 12. Eric Rett, and coming up to make the tackle is Ed McDaniel. Let's send it back to Hollywood for a McDonald's game break and James Brown.
All right, Tom, let's take a look at what a former Viking, Herschel Walker, did. Takes the handoff. Hey, folks, can he go? Yes, he can. The former Georgia track star in the 100. All the way to pay dirt, 91 yards, a career best. Philly on top, nursing a 1-point lead. Back to Minnesota, Tom and Anthony.
I tell you, we're familiar with that Atlanta team. We've seen a lot of them, and that Herschel Walker doesn't look like he's lost a whole lot.
No. Second down and 12. Erickson going for the long ball. And the catch is made by Horace Copeland. All the way to the Minnesota 45. Parker on the coverage.
Well, we talked about Horace Copeland earlier, talking about the big plays he's made last year. Hasn't made that many this year as you see him lined up one-on-one with Anthony Parker. Horace Copeland, a guy that has good size but has tremendous speed. The ball underthrown a little bit, but Horace Copeland comes back, makes a nice adjustment, and catches the football. As we look at the protection, Gruber taking Harris around the corner, throws the ball, then a little bit of a late hit there.
And a flag did come down. Clearly a late hit against the Viking defense, and they have been charged with late hits or quote-unquote questionable hits against opposing quarterbacks. Boomer Esiason echoing some of those sentiments last week, and you see they tack on the yardage.
Well, right there, the ball was out of Craig Erickson's hand. He had thrown the ball, and then all of a sudden he was hit. As we look at it, right here, we'll take a look at the end of the play and see. Right here, James Harris going around the back. The ball's gone. 1, 2, then all of a sudden Harris, Roy Barker, and John Randall come in, no question about that one.
And Harris and Barker are the two that have been charged most frequently by opposing quarterbacks this year. Here comes the blitz. Erickson throws far side, complete to Wilson.
Hell no.
A gain of about 5.
And there's Charles Wilson making a catch. Young man I referred to earlier. We look right here. See the play. Erickson, the quick drop, the quick throw. Charles Wilson, a nice catch, leaving his feet and making that catch. Great effort by Charles Wilson.
Was a gain of 5. So it's 2nd and 5. Buccaneers on the move, leading 14-9 here in the third quarter. Play action. Erickson. And there was bumping down on the near side between McDowell and number 51, Carlos Jenkins. No flag on the play. Actually, Dwayne Washington on the cover.
Well, we've been watching the Viking defensive line going against the Buccaneer offensive line. You see Erickson once again. James Harris, number 99, put pressure. Little bump. Washington making a little bit of bump there. Unbelievable.
We're not playing favorites here, folks. It's just go figure. 3rd and 5. Through the hands of number 85, Courtney Hawkins. Throw a little bit high. So the field goal unit comes out for the Buccaneers.
Amazing thing about this afternoon's football game is the middle linebacker. We've called Hardy Nickerson's number quite a few times. But on the other side, Jack Del Rio, number 55 for the Vikings. We've yet to call his name. No tackles here in the third quarter with just over 10 minutes left.
And he is Minnesota's leading tackler. 45-yard attempt by Houston. Nailed this one, but again, wide left. Houston has missed 2 long field goals here today. It remains a 5-point Buccaneers lead.
For the Buccaneers, holding on this attempted field goal, puts the ball down, gets the laces down, turned around towards the goalpost. Right here you see. Is it good? Is it good? See the shadow on that upright? That was unbelievable. That was close. That was a long distance. We sat here and watched that, and that was a long way, but just wide to the left.
1st and 10 from the 35 for the Vikings. And Allen stopped maybe a yard by Mark Wheeler. 14 carries, 50 yards for Terry Allen.
And you look at the possessions for the Vikings. First one, interception, punt, field goal, punt, field goal, punt. No touchdowns. They cannot get the ball in the end zone.
And this is the #1 ranked offense in the entire NFL. Boom. Long ball. Down the sideline. Ismail caught it, but he was out of bounds and is apparently juggling the football. Dimry again on the coverage.
As you said, Charles Dimry right here, number 39, one-on-one with Kadre Ismail. Right there. Maybe a little bit of contact there. Right there. Yeah, he really didn't have control of that football. No question about it. He did not have the ball before he went out.
So now a 3rd and 9 for the Vikings. They need to get out to the just past the 45. Great protection. Completed pass, but Nickerson stopped this mile before he could make another step. But this is a different Tampa Bay defense than the one which ranks 22nd in the NFL up to this date.
Right here you see Hardy Nickerson. Cadre Ishmael brings it to the inside. Nickerson reacts to it right there immediately. Makes the tackle. Super play, super reaction by Hardy Nickerson, the all-pro middle linebacker.
Hawkins waiting on the punt from Saxon. And it's long and well into the end zone. Not what Saxon had in mind. 57-yard boot. Floyd Peters Buccaneer defense leading 14-9. 10. Tampa Bay in front 14-9 here in the 3rd quarter. Brett breaks it to the outside. Jenkins had a hold of his jersey, then needed help from Vincey Glenn on the tackle. Well, inside, it's not like the old days, is it, Anthony, out at Metropolitan Stadium here in Minneapolis?
The key graphic is that right here, right there. I think we're going to do a lot of Christmas shopping probably the next day or two. We are not going anywhere. I'm going to get all those gifts out of the way.
It's a long walk back to Cincinnati.
It sure is.
On a 2nd and 5, Brett breaks through into the secondary out to the 35. A first down as Eric Rhett begins to pile up the yards.
Boy, and he just ran over Anthony Parker, number 27. Here's Eric Rhett, the lone setback. Well, you have another one right here, hiding behind that goalpost. Eric Rhett takes it up there. Nice push by Ian Beckles. Scott Dill opens up Charles McCray, making a nice block. And then Eric Rhett just runs over people after he gets to that line of scrimmage.
And bear in mind, Eric Rhett, his first 5 carries, 0 yards. 6 then, 6 carries, 48 yards. Play clock down to 2, and they don't get it off. Or do they? Pass completed on the far side to number 85, Courtney Hawkins, but no flag. Apparently they did get it off. So the completion is good to Hawkins.
That was rare. Usually they're right on top of those calls, making the correct calls, but not that time.
Jack Del Rio has had a quiet day. His team trails 14-9. Spins his way close to the first down. While we have a moment, let's send it back to our Hollywood studio and James Brown. JB.
All right, Tom. Atlanta trailed 14-13, marched 70 yards downfield. Jeff George finds Terrence Mathis, 10th receiving touchdown of the season. Decide to go for 2 points. Who do they go to? That man again, Terrence Mathis. Falcons lead at 21-14 in the 3rd. Back to Minnesota, Tom and Anthony.
Boy, what a delightful young man is Terrence Mathis. Had a chance to visit with him a couple of times this season.
Right here, you can see that Henry Thomas, number 97, is not in the football game. Ezra Tuaolo, number 98, has replaced him.
And they're that much short for the first down, so it'll be 3rd and inches for the Buccaneers.
Dennis Green has to be a little concerned about this football game. His team in need, as you mentioned several times throughout the broadcast here, they need a victory as they go against the Bears, who are tied with them this coming week. And the Buccaneers have come up here from sunny Tampa and so far have pretty much dominated this football game.
Well, you talk about that Minnesota front line. No sacks today. 1 sack in the last 120 passes by the opposition. Wow. Third and inches. Maybe on that extra push by Ty J. Armstrong. Armstrong could probably push a train down a track.
Going right up the middle behind Tony Mayberry. You talk about the Viking defensive line, and we mentioned him a little bit ago, Jack Del Rio. His 5th straight 100 tackle year with 131 tackles coming into this game. As you look right here, Craig Erickson over the center. Put it down in 4-point stance. They get the push, get the first down.
So a 1st and 10 for the Buccaneers with the lead and the ball. Vince Workman, back to Erickson, looking downfield in a double coverage. Nearly a spectacular grab by Horace Copeland, the old razzle-dazzle. Sam Weiss is known for that.
I've seen that several times, not only through my playing career with Sam, but the last 3 years that he's been with the Buccaneers. They bring Vince Workman in here as the setback, who was deactivated last week, but he's back in here. Takes the handoff to a nice flip back to Craig Erickson, who tries to hit Horace Copeland. And Horace Copeland almost comes down with the football. There's 2 guys back there, Vincey Glenn and Anthony Parker. He almost comes down with it.
2nd and 10. Early movement by James Harris. And Rhett stopped for perhaps a yard loss.
Again, we look at the end of the play with Parker and Glenn covering Horace Copeland, 6'2", 198 pounds, a 2nd-year pro out of Miami of Florida. Almost makes a spectacular catch.
Number 99 in the neutral zone at the snap. 5-yard penalty. Repeat the down. 2nd down.
That one hurts for the Viking defense. James Harris jumped early. So now it'll be rather than 3rd and 10, it is 2nd and 5. Erickson, good protection, and the receiver stopped. Looking for Courtney Hawkins, Dwayne Washington with very fine coverage. So it'll bring up a 3rd and 5. And they're getting right to the line of scrimmage. And all kinds of bodies running on and off the field. And now Erickson will have to step back and call the play.
Well, he made Roy Barker hurry up and get off the field. They did have 12 men. You know, if Roy Barker was further towards the middle of the field, they might have just snapped it and got a free 5 yards.
Play clock down to 3. They might not get this off. And then early movement. Talk about a strange sequence of events there. Well, no one knows more about the no-huddle offense than you, Anthony Munoz. You played under it many times in Cincinnati.
Well, what happens, you get to the line of scrimmage quickly, and if they do have too many men on the field, then you snap it. Just run a play. You get free 5 yards. But as we get the call right here.
Encroachment. Defense number 98, 5 yards. 1st down.
As the time clock was just getting ready to run down, it would have been a penalty on the Buccaneers, but the Vikings do jump offsides. And I was getting back to the no-huddle offense. As you look at it right here, the instant replay, or the replay right here, and he comes across in a hurry. But I'm getting back to the no-huddle. If they do get off in time, that's talking about the defense, then you just use the line of scrimmage to call the play. You have code words that Sam has had for years in his offense. The quarterback calls the play right at the line of scrimmage, and then you go from there.
Automatic 1st down after the penalty, and a 1st and 10 for the Buccaneers. Eric Rhett broke away from one tackle, but couldn't escape the grasp of John Randall. Minnesota was hurt by New England's no-huddle offense a couple of weeks ago up in Foxborough.
Well, and what that does also, the defensive players are getting tired as it is when you're throwing the ball and they're on the field for a long time. So when you put in the no-huddle, the defensive players are having to hurry up a lot more than just getting in their huddle, walking the line of scrimmage, and they don't get that rest time Plus, they have to get down in their three-point right away, and that takes a toll on a player.
Erickson on a 2nd and 10. Great protection again. To the tight end. Dave Moore, he broke a tackle, got to the 31. Good enough for a first down.
Well, Dave Moore comes into this game with only 1 reception. Right there is his 2nd reception. Right here you see Dave Moore, the left tight end here. Just releases to the outside. Nice protection by Paul Gruber on James Harris. And Dave Moore just sits into that zone, settles down. Erickson hits him. Something familiar that we've seen the last couple of weeks by Drew Bledsoe and Boomer Esiason picking apart the middle of that zone.
13-yard gain, 1st and 10 for the Bucs at the Minnesota 31. Brett tries to break it outside. Nowhere to run. Hello, Henry Thomas. He got help from Barker.
Henry Thomas, right after the snap, that play was no way going to work.
That is the first tackle in the game for Henry Thomas.
Right here you see him at the nose tackle position, defeating the block of Tony Mayberry, just getting over there and wrapping up Eric Rett. A super first penetrating and then making the tackle. The 6'2", 277-pounder with those nice shades on. And he's wearing the shield on his face mask. He doesn't like those bright lights.
Rett and Workman in the backfield. This is the 11th play of the drive. And the pass caught by Dawsey across the 30 to the 29, so it'll bring up a 3rd down and roughly 9. Del Rio, first time we've called his name, made the stop.
Well, this whole afternoon, you have to give that Tampa Bay Buccaneer offensive line a lot of credit. We mentioned before we came, or right when we got on the air today, they've run the ball well. The 2 back-to-back 100-yard gains by Eric Rett. But today, not only running the ball well, but they're giving Erickson a lot of time to complete passes.
Big play here, 3rd and 8. The Minnesota defense needs a stop. And shy of the first down is Dawsey. McDaniel wrapped him up. It is very close, but it looks to be, you can see right there, about a half a yard short. If you're Sam Weish and you are short, do you go 4th and less than a yard?
Well, as we look at the replay, give me a chance to think about it, but I would have to go. I would have to go. Right here, you see Erickson going back, and you're going to see Craig Erickson take quite a hit by John Randall coming around on the stunt right there. Boom. But Lawrence Dawsey makes a nice catch. I would think you go for it here if you don't make the first down.
Inside the ball, Nick.
Well, maybe longer than a yard short. It would be a gamble. If you kick the field goal, you go ahead 17-9, and Anthony, that gives you that 8-point lead. But on the other hand, if you go for it and you cash in and you hit it right on the head, they are going. You continue to drive and maybe try to get a real big lead.
We go out on the edge, Sam and I. We're going to go for it. And that's what he's doing. He's going for it. Like I said, I'd go for it.
6 out of 14 on 4th downs this season. They're 1 for 1 today. And the crowd will get into it. 4th and a yard. Didn't get it. Harris hit on the tackle. It appeared as though Rett lost his footing. So the defensive stop for Minnesota.
So far back in the backfield, what you would think, you'd want him up, cheated up a little bit. But right here you have Paul Gruber blocking James Harris. He does a nice job taking him to the outside. And if you see right here, here's the lane. He can just take it up in here, but he tries to take it outside, and James Harris is there to make the tackle.
And thus, a 7-minute drive, 13 plays, and the Buccaneers come up empty. So a big stop for the Viking defense. And Moon throws to Jake Reed on first down. Pickup of about 4. It'll bring up 2nd down. But you weren't crazy about the call to begin with, were you?
No, I think when you have a defense that's quick like that, and you have your running back so far back in the backfield, it gives them a chance to recover, use some of that quickness, opposed to putting you back close to the line of scrimmage, just giving it to them right away and letting your offensive lineman come off and try to blow somebody off the line.
Closing in on a minute left to go in the third quarter. In Tampa Bay, a 14-9 lead. Allen picked up a couple of yards before Nickerson and Covington tripped him up. It'll bring up third and about 3.
Well, this Buccaneer defense has really been shutting the door on Warren Moon and their #1 offense. Haven't been able to convert on third down. Right here they have a third and about third and short, but they can't do anything. I mean, the Buccaneers have just putting the pressure on them. Nickerson and the backers are playing well, and they're having excellent coverage.
4 wide out set on 3rd and 2. And Moon to throw. Caught by who else? Chris Carter. A Minnesota first down at the 36.
That's a lot to ask of Mike Magruder. That's a lot to ask of anybody to cover Chris Carter one-on-one. But Chris Carter is just a phenomenal receiver. You see Mike Magruder, number 21, and the ball is thrown in a super spot where Chris Carter can go up and make the catch. That's tough to cover him one-on-one.
Carter, 4 catches, 39 yards. This should be the final play of the third quarter. Move to Carter across the middle. And he's out to the 43. Marty Carter on the tackle. Gain of about 6. Well, that's the end of the third quarter here at the Metrodome in Minneapolis. And what a surprise thus far. Tampa Bay in front, 14-9. Our coverage will continue after this.
Well, they go for the first down on 4th and short. They don't make it with Derek Rett. They kick the field goal, puts them up by 8, but Sam goes for it. He wants to continue the drive. And James Harris steps it up and makes the tackle for a big one.
2nd down and 3 for the Vikings from their own 43. Play fake, intercepted, and then dropped right into the hands of Charles Dimry. The Buccaneers have missed on many of these, most notably Lonnie Martz in the fourth quarter last week in Seattle.
Wow, that was unbelievable. I mean, right here you see Warren Moon throwing it, and it's way over the head of Jake Reed, and Charles Dimry, I mean, has that thing hit him right in the hands. Doesn't hold on to it.
So now a 3rd down and 3. Ismail in motion. Moon throws. Complete. What a hit on Ampli by Hardy Nickerson. They say he hung on to the football, and it's good enough for the first down. Boy, Ampli took a shot.
And you can see Hardy Nickerson talking to the officials. I don't think he agreed with the spot. Right here you see Warren Moon throwing it right over the middle. Then comes Hardy Nickerson. A nice hit. He caught the football. Tremendous job hanging on to that football after the big hit by Hardy Nickerson.
And a first down.
Well, as we look at the receiving end or receivers for the Minnesota Vikings, you see right here, Jake Reed only 2 catches for 30 yards. They've gotten Chris Carter back into the ball game. He has 5 catches.
But no touchdowns for the Vikings today. And they trail here in the 4th. Here comes a blitz. And it's thrown the intended receiver, Jake Reed. And Moon just had to get rid of it.
It was almost like Mark Wheeler was saying, you okay, you okay? You know, Warren Moon's been around for a long time, an all-pro player, but the Buccaneers have been pressuring him all afternoon. Right there, you see the hit by Mark Wheeler just as he releases the ball. Brad Culpepper there.
See the numbers on Warren Moon. 2nd and 10. Make the reverse. Set up the screen to Ampli. Caught from behind. Good defensive play by Chidi Ahanatu. 2nd-year pro out of Cal. They think he's done well this season.
They really do. Here's a guy that has some super explosion, some good quickness, and he's only going to get better with playing time, playing experience. 6'2", 280 pounds. He's in his second year, so he's one of these young, talented players they have in the defense that they only believe is going to get better.
3rd down and 5. A big play for the Minnesota Vikings, trailing 14-9. Blitz coming. Overthrown by Moon, the intended receiver, Chris Carter. Normally, Moon and Carter on the same page. That does not appear to be the case here today, Anthony.
I agree with you, Tom. They really look confused. They don't look to be on the same page, and just the way Warren Moon's going back there, maybe it's all the hits that he's taken. Right here, you see Chris Carter in the slot. And the ball is just nowhere. I mean, that ball is 10 yards past Chris Carter.
So the Minnesota drive stalls. Saxon in the punt yet again. And here they come. And he did get it away. A beautiful punt. Hawkins will let it go. And a Minnesota bounce. They'll down it inside the 5. Terrific punt by Mike Saxon, 42 yards. Martin Harrison along with Gulliford on the coverage. Let's say 14-9, Tampa Bay lead. The Buccaneers 1st and 10, deep in their own territory, starting this drive at the 5.
And the crowd getting a little fired up. Could be a factor here in this 4th quarter. He's getting fired up. I know that.
Play fake to Rhett. Looking down the field and well overthrown. He had an eye on Lawrence Dawsey.
Good play by Craig Erickson. Gave a little play fake. He knew his receiver was covered, so he just threw it away. No use of taking and making a mistake this far in your opponent's, in your own territory here. Wonder if they're calling to see if the airport's open. Maybe no, they're probably signaling or calling the play in to Craig Erickson. That's what he's doing.
2nd down and 10. Brett finds a hole out to the 12. It won't be enough for the 1st down. Anthony Parker able to catch him from behind, but a fine pickup for this rookie Florida Gator.
Well, that was an excellent read by Eric Rhett, because Henry Thomas got some good penetration going against Tony Mayberry right there, number 61. And Eric Rhett sees that Thomas is in that hole, so he quickly takes it to the backside, making a nice read on that play.
3rd down and about 1.5 yards. We'll call it an even 2. Dangerous pass, but good enough for the catch to Lawrence Dawsey, and it is a Buccaneer 1st down. That nearly was another interception and a 4th touchdown it would have been for Anthony Parker.
Boy, he was right there, and it was close. Let's take a look at just how close Anthony Parker was to picking that one off. Erickson going with the quick drop. The ball coming right at you. Boy, just oh, he was almost there. I mean, the ball was thrown nicely by Craig Erickson. Knew his receiver was going to be right there. The timing was super.
For the Buccaneers, getting out of that hole. And the quick slant across the middle to Ty J. Armstrong. It's going to take 4 or 5 guys to bring him down. Armstrong at 6'4", 262 pounds.
That was just wow. And you can see him. He's excited. He's happy about that catch. I see Erickson going back once again. A solid wall in front of him. Ty J. Armstrong, who has to step in because of the injury to Jackie Harris, who underwent surgery, having that shoulder reconstructed, or surgery on the shoulder right here. Ty J, as you mentioned. They got him listed at 250, more like 265.
16-yard gain. And the handoff going to Eric Rhett. And the stop made by Todd Scott. Well, right now, for a McDonald's update, let's go to James Brown in our Hollywood studio.
All right, Tom, Atlanta trying to break a 2-game losing streak turns to the big one. Craig Hayward, the wobbly manhole cover, bulls his way in. Falcons on top of Philly, 28-14, just starting the fourth. Back to Minnesota, Tom and Anthony.
Wobbly manhole cover. You can get a couple guys down that wobbly manhole cover. He's a big man.
And just before the play clock ran out, Erickson calls for a time. So we have 10:27 left to play in Minneapolis. Sam Weiss and the Buccaneers leading Moon and the Vikings 14-9.
Only one combines power.
Munoz, Tom Brenneman in Minneapolis. 14-9 Tampa Bay. 10:27 left to go.
Here we see Jack Del Rio, number 55, who's been really quiet for this defense. In fact, there's been a lot of quiet guys on this Viking defense this afternoon.
2nd down and 9. More on that right after this play. Downfield wide open is Courtney Hawkins. He crosses midfield down to the Minnesota 48.
This is amazing here, Tom. Craig Erickson under pressure. Under not a whole lot of pressure. No sacks, 1 hurry, 1 knockdown, no batted passes, 1 interception. Only 1 time in 32 passes has been forced to scramble, and that's against a defensive front in the Vikings that are known to put some heavy-duty pressure on quarterbacks.
Well, they were known, at least until their last 3-4 games. 1st and 10. Quick handoff to the fullback, Anthony McDowell. And he crosses the 45 down to the 44. Anthony, if you go back to the New England game, followed up by the Jets game, and include today's game, Erickson has had 32 pass attempts. The Viking defense has 1 sack in the opposition's last 137 pass attempts. Only 3 sacks in the last 167.
That is simply amazing right here. Whoa, that is amazing. I mean, that...
And who would figure against Randall and Thomas. Brett spins away, ran into Gruber, and then a good play up from the middle linebacker spot by Del Rio. Lost a yard. It'll bring up 3rd and 8.
You know, Tom, the amazing thing about that is we talked about offensive schemes and strategy. Sure, you can account for 1 or 2 guys, but that's going to free up a lot of guys one-on-one with some people. Those guys got to take advantage of that. You know they're going to try to double-team Randall and Thomas. That's basically what they do game in and game out. So therefore, Roy Barker and James Harris, they know they're one-on-one, so they have to put the pressure. It's just amazing that it's been that many passes with only 1 sack.
3rd and 9. And here they come again. Erickson steps up wide open. Is Lawrence Dawsey. He's to the Viking 24. And all of a sudden, Tampa Bay on the move, a 21-yard pickup.
Boy, they're taking care of that front 4, blocking them well. They come with the blitz. Vince Workman steps up, takes the 1 blitzer. Erickson takes care of the other blitzer, stepping up. It's a super job, not only with the linemen, but coordinating with the backs and picking up those blitzes.
No huddle offense for Erickson and the Buccaneers. Workman, a huge hole. Barrels his way to the 12. Scott met him head on.
Well, there's several ways you can stretch the defense. We talked earlier about putting extra men in there with tight ends and extra linemen at the line of scrimmage, but put 4 wide receivers. That spreads them out. Then you send them right up the middle. Right here, they bring them to the line right away.
11th play of the drive. 4 wide out set. Hawkins in motion. Hand off to Workman. And he maybe got a yard. There's been some kind of game plan executed by Sam Weiss today.
Not only that, but then Craig Erickson in there as a quarterback has been able to execute a lot of those plays. You see right here, Vince Workman getting the ball deep enough. You see Ian Beckles and Tony Mayberry sealing off that right side. He's all the way to the secondary. Todd Scott having to make the tackle.
2nd and 9. They can get a first down to the 1-yard line. Erickson to the end zone. Off the fingertips of Courtney Hawkins. Washington on the coverage.
And Erickson a little disappointed. Knows he had him there. Just off his hands. You see Courtney Hawkins on Dwayne Washington. One-on-one. Makes a little move to the inside. Gets him just a little bit enough. And the ball was right there, just off his fingertips. Right here you see Craig Erickson pounding the ground because he knew he had Courtney Hawkins. They don't complete it.
3rd and 9, 6:09 to go. Tampa Bay leading 14-9. They'll hand it off. And Eric Rett gets to the 8. Fernando Smith, number 95, made the tackle. They'll send in the field goal unit.
Well, this will put them up by 8. If Husted makes this one, it appeared that they just wanted to give Rhett the ball and set it in the middle of the field and be satisfied with the attempt for a field goal.
Husted has missed a couple of long ones today. This one a chip shot. They'll mark it at the 17, a 27-yard field goal attempt. He hasn't missed inside 40 since the first game of his rookie year. And still hasn't.